gonna watch Azurite's video. He has speculations and theories about what's coming in the next field operation content. So I am curious to hear what they think. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all the introduction.
Hello, friends.
Ah, wow.
Wow, it's been a while since I started a video like that. But
Hello,
I
Flint.
thought, what's the harm in going back to your roots every now and then and making a video in this style? So that's what we're going to do. It's been about a week since the live letter for patch 7.2, and with all the negativity around Dawn Trail and
Oh god.
all that stuff, I thought, why not just make a fun, lighthearted video?
I like that. I like that he decided to specifically not feed into the fold and, make the 20th fucking Dawn Trail is shit video, like most people are do. Like, he doesn't do videos, but, like, I like that he makes guides and he does some theory crafting. Not all videos are good. When is the patch, by the way? The patch should be around 21st of March? Around that time. We're not sure, but we know it's going to be late March. Mathematically, if I'm not wrong, but I'm usually very bad at math, it's gonna be 21st of March. They might still delay it, who fucking knows. But yeah, I'm glad Azurite decided to make like a very informative, or at least like theory crafting kind of video.
And that's what we're going to do, because we're going to talk about the new Occult Crescent content coming out in 7.2. Probably not actually 7.2, it'll probably come out a few weeks after, because Savage has to be prioritized. You guys know the deal. Us raiders, we need our content, we're desperate for it. I'm kidding.
I mean, they might release it also in 7.2, just not the rating stuff. People might still do it, honestly. Because, like, even Baja itself, they released, like, the first... Like, you could unlock the entire map, essentially, more or less in one day. Depending how enthusiastic you were with farming. But essentially, a lot of the content or quest lines were still kind of locked behind patches. So they might still release it on 7.2, depending what kind of mood they're in. Honestly, I hope they do release it in 7.2 and not 7.1 or 5. Because, Jesus fucking Christ. People need some casual or mid-core content. They need it, like, for a while now. They definitely need it. Okay, so I have around a month to play S2 in WoW before I guess. Go for it. Finish that season. I don't know what's coming next in World of Warcraft, but at this point, I don't know. I'm more excited for the content 14.
Kidding, by the way. I wish this content would come out before Savage, but hey, it is what it is. All we can do is bitch and moan about it and hope for change. But that's not the topic of this video.
And how much I'm gonna do bitch and moan if it doesn't come out in 7.2. I will screech, I will scream, I will call Square Enix lame on Twitter. I demand content, for fuck's sake. Cannot keep doing fucking chaotic wipes.
Video. Now, I'm not going to summarize everything that was talked about in the live letter, because that would be boring, and you can do that yourself by just Googling it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste your time with that. But we are...
I'll save you some time. Yoshipi says we're deleting Lalafels. That's why I'm a Lalafell right now. I'm enjoying the last moments of the race. I'm sorry, but they said the Lalafell stool created too much drama. They're deleting the entire race now. Don't Google it though. You're here for the informative content that I give.
What we're going to do is do something a little bit fun, and that fun is speculation. Now, there's a few things that I can't really speculate about. For one, who knows how the 48-player raid is going to go. It'll probably just be like Bozja's initial raid. It won't have a Savage version until maybe later. Or maybe they're taking the Eureka approach, where it won't be really hard, but it will still need good coordination. But it won't be on the level of a Savage raid. Who knows? They could take either approach, and either one works with dedicated communities organizing these kind of raids. But
are there actually already communities specifically for Occult Crescent? Actually, I need to look into this. Because if they're not, maybe I should just make a Discord. I'm kind of curious. Not curious, but like I'm kind of enthusiastic about the content. I am feeling like a bit frisky. I am feeling like building a bit of a like I've abandoned my fucking FC already. Maybe I should like adopt a fucking community of a certain content niche. Maybe I should actually make it. Actually, you know what, chat? I'm gonna make a community Discord for a Cold Crescent after this video.
We'll see. I don't know. Not going to speculate it. I will quickly summarize everything we know so far, though. So we know that this content is more or less a combination of Eureka and Bosja. They basically took all the good elements from both of this type of content and combined them together. I fully expect we will get as many zones as we did back in Stormblood with Eureka, with the quality that was
Huh?
committed to each zone in Shadowbringers.
Had me worried
Bosja.
there.
I could be wrong there, but we'll see. They're also doing a similar thing that they did with Bosja with the relic weapons, so you can do the exploration content, or you can do existing content to grind your relic weapon, which is really good. Bosja did...
God, I fucking hope we get options. I hope we have multiple options for each stage. People obviously will mid-max the relics as much as they can. But honestly, I hope it's just like I am so like I want more options. I cannot keep doing Crystal Tower 30 times for each weapon. I can't. I'm sorry. It's like in Heaven's Sword, sure, there was some tedious content that you had to farm for it, but at least that content wasn't so fucking shit to do. Crystal Tower, it's like Crystal Tower is not something we should be doing for a relic in fucking Shadowbringers. Give us another one. Like I'd rather farm near raids at this point. Even near raids are more exciting. Meanwhile, people are just like speeding through Crystal Tower.
Did actually require you to get through Bosja.
We're fucking doing the not Zardas. What Delibrum Reginite, the first one. Actually, not Delibrum Reginite. What was the first raid called? There was like 3 of them. What was the first raid called in Zardas? Not Zardas, but Bosja itself. But it would spawn like every 40 fucking minutes, and you had to do like multiple of those. That was fucking nightmare to do. I understand if you're an active like content enjoyer, you will get there eventually, but it's like, make it more frequent, please.
And get through the story of Bosja to actually do the relic. So hopefully with this relic weapon, it won't be the same, because there will be people that don't like this content and they won't want to do that, but they do want their relic, so they'll still have to get through this content if that is the case. So hopefully it's not the case and people can pick and choose whatever path they want to get this relic. So yeah, fingers crossed for that. But let's actually talk about the topic that I want to talk about, which is phantom jobs, because this is probably the most interesting concept coming to the Occult Crescent. And the best way to speculate is look what they've done in the past and...
Hold on, actually, let me mute the volume in game. I feel like me farming Eureka in the background might be a bit annoying to any headphone users.
Kind of innovate on that and see what they can do further with this system. So if you look at Eureka, you could hold several plates that you would pop, and then those plates would give you access to 2 special actions that you made on this device thing. And then those actions could be really anything, but typically you would have a stance, and then you would have a extra additional ability that would play into the content you are tackling, or just help you in some capacity to farm the fates or whatever they were, or get through BA more efficiently. In Bosja, they did things in a somewhat similar manner. My memory is a bit hazy on Bosja, so apologies if I get this a little bit wrong. But basically, you had a capacity of the amount of items you could take out of this chest, and you could pretty much use these items whenever you wanted by just accessing this panel. And this would give you unique actions, and it would also give you active items.
Just to clarify, it's not just like whenever you could access the panel. There was like certain like points when you could just get inside the chest, either outside the zone, like in the entrance to Bosja, or like at the start of the raids, there will be like one chest that you can kind of still consult per se. But once you start pulling, you cannot bring anymore. And so there were mid-maxed builds. There were certain builds to certain jobs and classes for strategies, especially for like resing strategies, because like even res actions some people had them, but what was that action? I'm trying to remember. I think it's like you have a 50-50 chance to raise some. No, it was like 90-10 chance to raise someone. If you get the 10%, you get doom. You get killed yourself. I don't remember, something along those lines. I remember it was just a lot of memes when I was progging Deliberate Regina Savage. It was very funny. It was very fun.
Items to use, so like potions that would refill your MP or increase your damage or damage reduction for a certain amount of time. Basically like the stances, but a consumable instead. So that's what they did with Bosja. Again, I apologize if I'm not getting that completely right. So now we know how they did it in Eureka and Bosja. We have to look at how they're going to do it with the new Occult Crescent Phantom jobs. Now, they did talk about this briefly, and we'll get to that, but let's quickly look at this image here. So we can see that this UI is showing the Phantom job freelancer. You can think of this like a support job or a secondary job, and you'll be able to have traits attached to this job and actions. Now, we have no idea how many actions you'll be able to get. I imagine it'll be 2. It could be more, but currently we only have room for 2 on the duty action bar, but it could be more.
My personal theory, before I'm pretty sure Azra is going to get to a similar conclusion, is that similar to Final Fantasy V, because that's essentially what the game is based on, we're essentially going to be the freelancer with our main job, and we can equip certain jobs that we have to unlock, and we farm out their levels to unlock specific actions specifically accessible to those phantom jobs. At least that's my theory. You get a phantom job. You have like one action. You level it up by doing stuff, fates, etc., farming, and you get more actions specifically, like specific to that job. And then you can level up other jobs as well, and you can level them up like separately. That would give it a bit more longevity, or like a bit more focus for people who want to do specific thing, or just specifically have a specific role. Like, I like the idea of phantom jobs, because it essentially means that even no matter what you play, you could be a support, or you can be like have a certain role. Like, as soon as they said that, for example, like warriors can be bards, you can buff your team while still tanking. That's kind of really sick as an idea. Maybe there'll be some healing actions as well. Although I haven't seen a lot of like healing jobs along the list. But let's continue.
Who knows? But basically, the idea is you have this job, you get extra actions, and you get extra traits. Now, that doesn't sound like anything crazy on a surface level, but it could really change how your job works depending on how these traits will work. They could be really interesting. And, like, this system could literally make the meme of warrior healer be reality. Imagine if you could have a trait that reduces the cooldown of, I don't know, abilities with 30-second or less cooldowns to be like only a 5-second cooldown, for example. Then a warrior could just spam Nascent Flash on people to heal them. Or maybe a trait that would allow single target abilities to target the entire party.
You know there's going to be combinations that are going to create very broken builds. That happened in Delibram Regini, already. Well, in Baj in general. Like especially for like 1v1 combat challenges, people would find they have this specific combination of buffs for casters specifically. Like there were these like fates that were like 1v1 combat. Everyone could watch and like cheer and get a buff if the person wins. And it's like the combat usually was around 6 to 8 minutes. It was like essentially like a good raid fight, just like only like it was a solo instance. But casters had a really scary fucking combinations that would just kill a boss within like 30 to 40 minutes. And 20 minutes of that fight were just them charging fucking buffs and bonuses. It was wild. Never got fixed, by the way. So if you want to get an achievement for clearing those instances or 1v1s in a more easier manner, follow a guide. I think either Svea has that or someone else.
They did say they want to do crazy stuff with this system, so who knows? That is stuff we could potentially see. That way, a warrior could potentially heal an entire party with just one ability. But let's actually look into what these jobs are. So the ones that we do know of is Freelancer, Monk, Bard, Geomancer, Time Mage, Ranger, Chemist, Berserker, Cannoneer. And what do these jobs even entail in Final Fantasy? Okay, so the first job shown is actually the Freelancer job. And with a little bit of research, we know that the Freelancer job is actually the default starting job in a few Final Fantasy titles. So I'm guessing this will just be the starting job, and we'll get other jobs that will be more powerful, but who knows?
Freelancer, aka unemployed. That's the unemployed job. If you haven't picked a job that you want to bring into raids, you have the unemployed job.
Maybe Freelancer will have access to some really crazy stuff, and it'll maybe be similar to that of an Onion Knight, where it can just use a variety of abilities, and you can.
Oh, that would be actually sick if if people dressed up as Onion Knights. Oh, maybe we can have like full raids of just Onion Knights. Although unless you have like the 1.0 legacy, the only Onion Knight gear you can have is the tank one, isn't it? And it's blue. Maybe they'll give us more Onion Knight gear. One more Onion Knight gear.
Can mix and match stuff, but yeah, who knows. The other two that we know of is Monk and Bard. Now, we already have Monk and Bard in the game, but they might take a more traditional approach with both of these jobs. They do say that Bard gets access to this ability called Mighty March that improves their supportive capabilities. Whatever that might entail on Final Fantasy XIV is hard to know, because what does really support mean on FF14, a game where TP no longer exists and resource management isn't?
God, TP. Bards used to literally be bis in raids because their songs didn't give specific like offensive buffs. One of them did, and one of them restored mana. The other one would restore TP. Times were wild, but those were the days when Bard also had a healing LB3 or like rezzing ability. Those were the good days. Honestly, the more I think about it, I hope they just make a physical range like archetype, like a class. This is just off topic from the Occult Crescent. Like, I hope they literally just put Bard and Dancer into the healing category. Just put them in the healing category, similar to Sage, and then just like make us some new actual proper physical range. Give us a Cannoneer, give us like a Gambler, or I don't know, give us a Singer or a Host, or one of those fucking jobs. We got like a whole gaggle of them. Just give the Bard like the healing support role. But obviously, I'm just kind of joking, but like half joking. Hee
A thing anymore. Who knows, maybe there's a resource you can manage with the Phantom jobs, and Bard will provide a way to make it easier to manage. Maybe Bard will reduce cooldowns. Really, we don't know, but that's just some things that we can think of that maybe will happen. As for Monk, well, Monk just kind of punches and kicks stuff, really, but there is an interesting thing called Occult Counter, which might just work as a counter attack. And that could be really interesting. Imagine playing a tank and just counter-attacking a tank buster. That would be really fun. Geomancer's another one that really interests me.
That would actually be sick. That would actually be sick. Like, if you could actually, in some way, reflect an attack or counter it. Like, no, like, not even, like, do anything specific, but, like, nullify a specific attack and have, like, a 12-minute cooldown on that ability. God, the raids would be so fun, like mitigating certain mechanics. Maybe a tank buster, maybe all tanks would shirk a healer that would just mitigate one fucking mechanic going at them. That would kind of be sick if they gave us like utility like that. That would be actually like really sick. I remember making all of Paladin spells free back in Baja. They also cut your DPS by 20%, so no one wanted to use them. Ooh. Oof. Oof.
Me. And I do actually hope it comes to FF14 one day in the form of an actual job. But if it's going to be an Occult Crescent as a Phantom job, there are a few interesting things they could do with it. So GM,
in terms of like having a mechanic like that is brought as a job. Like Vindictus had this. Vindictus had this. I don't remember his name. Kratos, something like starts with a K. It's a big dude, big buff dude. He had two weapons, either just like a pillar or a fucking tree stump, or gauntlets. Right? Gauntlets help them like literally have iframes against the mechanics, but regardless, they were essentially like the main tank in Vindictus. And they had literally the role to counter mechanics because they were given those abilities on some bosses, especially big bosses like 20-man raids. Like, sorry, not 20, like there was more than 20. But like big raids, they had the responsibility to counter and animation lock the boss. Because it was like a whole animation of them countering the boss. Like a big boss about to stomp on the group, but that specific character would be brought specifically to counter that ability. They would just hold the foot and just kind of flip the boss back. Um, they were a bit wild, but they were essentially like a mandatory class, and that's just like I I probably would like to avoid a niche like that. Bard songs were changed for a reason. Anytime you'd use any of them except Minuet, that's 20% of your damage just gone until you ran out of mana or turned off. Yeah, yeah, bards are in a weird spot in general. I think they've been in a weird spot since Heaven's Sword.
Mancer typically uses earth-like magic, so imagine just being able to create line of sight walls. Yeah, you could troll your team with that really hard, but this is the kind of content where they can go crazy and do whatever they want. So, who knows, maybe that's something we'll see, where Geomancer can just make walls, and you can use it to line of sight boss attacks, or your healers, whichever one you prefer. Time Mage is also another really interesting one. I doubt this will be ever an actual job on FF14, but again, they want to go crazy with these jobs, so who knows what they'll do with this in this content. They could do some really cool things like haste, for example. Slowing enemies cast down as well is another thing they could do. They could also
Oh, haste might be a bit too busted. Haste might be a bit too busted, especially if you got like ninjas or monks in your group. That might be a bit too busted, or like a bit too griefy, honestly. Depending on the comp, honestly. But or if you got red mages, you might be a bit in trouble. You might be not doing a good by like applying haste. Like they removed the haste cards from Stormblood for a reason, because that would grief a lot of people. Even in dungeons, people would complain.
reduce cooldowns for your team. There's a lot of things they could do with time magic for really just like speed and slowing things down. Stuff that isn't exactly too
I honestly think Time Mage is just gonna be like the healing role. They're just gonna give it like some support abilities similar to Macrocosmos, where you just like you return some of the damage that just happened. Something like very basic. I don't think it's gonna be like that deep, where Geomancers make walls that can counter bosses or healing, or certain like new buff jobs. Can you imagine just being a ninja and just applying buffs to everyone between GCDs? Bit of a nightmare. They can fix Bard by giving it a gun and a mic to sing karaoke. Oh, jeez. Ace wouldn't be busted due to the desync it causes for all but Black Mage. It's a debuff. Yeah. Ace in general is kind of like I don't think they can apply haste to the game anymore. It's like it's the game itself due to latency, server tech, slide casting, all that good shit. It's like it's such a weird fucking spot. Haste is just not something that should be in the game right now until they figure out how to apply it properly. They can at some point, but it's like right now they need to figure out how to apply it properly. The haste card was removed because it was only useful for Black Mage. For every other job, it was just nice. It was actively griefing them. Yeah, pretty much. And that was essentially if Black Mages were running the spell speed. I don't know if they have the spell speed build right now. There were like some spell speed builds for summoners as well. At least like I think actually I'm not sure. Don't quote me about the Stormblood summoner, but like there were some spell speed builds. Oh yeah, haste in general. It's like it's such a weird card. Like even like right now, haste is only good for bards. And even they barely use armies peon. they essentially just use it to rebuff their dots to go into the 4 stacks. Sorry, to go into their Rio like 2 minute burst with a with 4 stacks of army speon, just for a better burst. But otherwise, it's like not really anyone is benefiting from that right now. Especially how people basically, what the fuck is this? Especially how people basically just count GCDs and spreadsheeting every fight.
Too crazy when you think about it, but imagine just being able to have a time mage and just reducing everyone's like 2 minute cooldowns, for example, by like, I don't know, 90 seconds or something like that.
90? Wait, did he say 90 or 19? Hold on.
2 minute cooldowns, for example, by like, I don't know, 90 seconds or something.
That'd be way too busted. Way too busted. Holy shit. That that ability is either only gonna be applied once. You can either like apply it only once, or it has like a 20-minute cooldown. Cause holy shit, 90 second reduction on burst. That'd be a bit too big. A bit too big.
Something like that. But that is on a cooldown. But then you could stack time mages, and you could just have like 4 time mages, and they.
Yeah, that would be too busted for a game that's constantly trying to make the most annoying balance in the game. The most frustrating fucking level of balance in this game. I don't think that's gonna happen. Honestly, maybe if someone's really fucking brave, but then everyone's just gonna bring time mages. Unless they're gonna be like very fucking underperforming in literally anything else but that cooldown. They're gonna be like Astro back in Asphodelos, when Phoenix was practically countered specifically by white mages on one mechanic. People literally just did not want to bring a white mage for that mechanic. Because you would have to waste an LB3 from healers, or you're wasting like a lot of time GCD healing or just a lot of cooldowns just to top up your team. And then you also needed the timing for it. People would just bring an Astra just to avoid the fucking hassle in general. So it's like, same can be said about Time Mage if you bring something like that.
They would reduce each other's cooldowns constantly, and you'd have this loop of, I don't know, constant 2 minute uptime. Crazy things like that maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, and that's something that they won't do, but it would be cool, right? Speaking of getting ahead of myself, imagine if they could also place like a bubble down, and anyone who enters this bubble is like significantly slowed down. Like their GCDs are slowed down, their movement is slowed down, like everything is just slowed down within this bubble. But enemies could also be pulled into this bubble as well. So something like that is kind of crazy when you think about it. Will they do this? Probably not. But am I allowed to dream? Yeah, why not? The next job I have real interest in is the chemist job. This is also going to be a support job. And I was really hoping the next healer, not Sage, was going to be chemist. But it ended up as Sage. So that made me a little bit sad. I was really looking forward to shooting my friends with potions, but like through a gun, kind of like Anna from Overwatch. I thought that would have been really cool. And maybe making random concoctions that could either be beneficial or negative. So you could either throw them at allies or enemies. Something like that would have been really cool, but I imagine that's why they're doing it with support jobs instead. So that will probably be a thing where you randomly concoct a potion, and it's either going to be a positive or a negative, or maybe you'll have control of the kind of potion you make. Maybe they'll build in a Mudra system to the support job. Who knows? Again, it really could be anything. Maybe they'll take the aspect of Bozja with like consumables and really capitalize on that with the chemist job, where it can use consumables for free rather than having to actually use them. Then there's Cannoneer. Now, from my understanding, Cannoneer does a lot of damage, and it also can inflict status ailments on enemies. Who really knows how that's going to play as a support job, because you're not going to just be able to pull out a cannon, or I mean, maybe you will. Maybe their support job abilities will literally pull out a cannon, and that would be pretty sick, I'm not going to lie. I honestly really hope the next physical ranged was going to be Cannoneer, but maybe not because of this support job. But
I mean, we kind of have Machinist. It's kind of the same thing. Considering like half the animations on Machinist is taking out a big fucking gun or cannon and shooting it, I don't think I get that specifically. There.
they also did mention here that some of these jobs might appear in the future, or they kind of alluded to it. They didn't.
That's actually a very good point. He did essentially put it into right words. They did allude to it, and chances are they might be using this as like testing grounds for certain jobs. They may or may not come back. I hope they do. Like, there's like so many cool and fun ideas in the list of jobs that they kind of presented for Phantom jobs. Obviously, not all of them are gonna work. Like, let's be honest, some of them are like story-wise or concept-wise, or just like what they should be bringing to the table. They're either gonna be giga busted, or it's gonna be a big fucking disappointment. Because Astro is pretty much our time mage. They had to do that shit. They had to do that shit instead of time mage.
Didn't want to make any promises, but that is definitely a possibility. Either way, yeah, who really knows? This could just involve pulling out cannons and firing them and just having a good time by dealing a lot of damage and inflicting status ailments, so we'll see. Then there's Berserker, and this one quite excites me because Berserker is all about offensive capabilities and the ability Berserk.
People have wanted Berserker for a while. I'm pretty sure because people wanted Berserker, that's like the reason we saw Berserker in Shadowbringers as like the last boss of that Gauntlet dungeon. Just to tease us. They gave us Ink Mages in that dungeon too. And Berserker as the last boss. Like, people wanted a Berserker job for a while. I'm not one who understands the charm of a job like that, but people definitely have wanted it for a while.
Now this is a warrior ability, but it gets upgraded to in a release. But Berserk back in the day, now I'm going to age myself, it used to increase your damage by an absolute significant amount. Like, warriors were doing insane damage back in A Realm Reborn and Heavensward if they knew what they were doing and they had strength accessories on. They could do some crazy damage. But the problem is, once the effect expired, the warrior would be pacified for 5 seconds. Now, I imagine this will work in a similar way. They'll go back to their roots of how Berserk used to work back in the day. You'll pop a buff.
It might also work similar to how some of the potion worked back in Baja. Essentially, you do more damage, but you take more damage as well. It might be like something like that. It might give you like an ability like that, specifically to tanks or DPS. I don't know if like a white mage Berserker is gonna be like a good fit. But if, what the fuck do I know? You know, lilies for the blood gods or whatever.
It'll significantly increase your physical damage, but once it ends, it might pacify you. We'll see. A really easy thing they could do is just going back to how Berserk used to work. But yeah, that's not just it. Berserker could do a variety of other things. It's Berserker. It's all about offensive abilities, so we'll see. I would really love to combine Dark Knight with Berserker and just be an absolute beast of a Dark Knight, out damaging all the DPS. And who knows, maybe that is...
You already kind of do in openers. There's a reason like Dark Knights are kind of priority for parsing parties. I'm pretty sure, like, don't quote me on this. I might be out of date on this. But I'm pretty sure dance partner priority is Dark Knight on opener and then all the other fucking DPS. I'm pretty sure that is still the case. I'm kind of certain of it.
Is the idea of these support jobs is so you can play a role that is typically meant to be like a tank or a healer or whatever, right? And play another role that isn't meant to be played in that way. Kind of like WoW's Season of Discovery. I haven't actually played that, but I know you can have like mage healers and stuff like that. So maybe that's how this is going to work. Maybe I'm getting too far ahead of myself, like always, but we'll see. It would be really cool to play a job in a way that it's not meant to be played. And the last job we can actually see, although they said there's going to be more, so don't worry, we're just going to talk about the ones that we...
I don't think they're going specifically for making jobs play opposite of what they're supposed to be played as. I think what they're going for is a bit of role exploration, and they're just gonna give us like more role responsibilities or branches. Potentially, like I would treat it like a talent tree in World of Warcraft, where you get like multiple options. You're still doing the same thing you would be normally doing. Let's say you're a balance druid, but you can either go for dots, CC, utility, buffs. So at least that's what I'm thinking they would do. I don't think they're gonna do anything too fucking crazy. As much as I miss just one-shotting bosses with the caster combo, I don't think they're gonna want to repeat the same thing again. Who knows though? Like, we've known Square Enix to just play annoyingly safe with a lot of these things, like an annoying amount of safe, right? But I don't know. Square Enix can always prove me wrong. I hope they do. I genuinely hope they do.
You can currently see is Ranger. Now, Ranger is a weird one to me because from what I've seen, it doesn't really have much difference to some other things. So their most iconic ability is apparently Barrage or Rapid Fire. Bard already has Barrage, so that's something that they already can't take. So I really am not sure what they're going to do with Ranger, but I guess we'll see. Maybe it'll just let you play, I don't know, a monk with your support job as Ranger, and you can be a ranged monk. Maybe it'll just allow you to do that. Maybe there'll be traits that give your...
Can you imagine getting range? All the melees are just gonna pick that up. You're gonna be a ranged samurai or monk. Although positionals will probably be very fucking annoying to do in that kind of situation.
abilities further range, so your melee attacks will suddenly be 20 yarms rather than like, what is it, 5? So yeah, who knows, it could be stuff like that. Again, the traits could really play an interesting role in how they are handling these support.
Clarify, not all of them have 5 yalms range. That's mainly the Samurai's Midari. They got a bit of a range on that ability. Or I think it's more than just the Midari, but I believe they got a range specifically on their the sticker combo. I don't believe all melees have that range. I think all melees got maybe 3. I could be wrong though. I might need to check. I would check right now, but I'm kind of busy not dying. Eureka.
Jobs, so we'll see. But that's gonna do it for
Is
me.
that Pacos
Just
I
a
see?
fun
Yeah.
kind of video where we speculate what the possibilities are of these phantom jobs. Are we getting too ahead of ourselves? Are we not getting ahead enough? I don't know. But if you have any fun ideas that you can think of that you'd love to see with this new system, then do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to see if you guys could be even more crazy than some of my random ideas here. But yeah, that'll do it for me. I won't take any more of your time than I already have, but I do appreciate you for taking the time to watch this video. And if you liked it, do make sure to give it a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate that. And do check out my socials in the link below. If you want to get your name in the credits like this, you can check out my Patreon, and I'll see you in the next one. So take it easy, and goodbye.
It, one thing he is bringing up that I really hope they do, and that is specifically like we can hope that it's going to be fun. We hope that the developers are literally making something just to make as many broken and weird as fucking builds as possible. I hope they're specifically making this as like these weird fucking testing grounds where we're gonna just find out how crazy some of the builds can be, and potentially experiment with some of the future jobs. Hopefully. But obviously, historically, they might just be playing this Omega safe, how they have done so for the longest time, unfortunately. But we can always hope. We can always hope that this is gonna be Omega fun content. that everyone, that the entire family can enjoy. I pulled a snake into the fate.